What can we learn about preventing suicide from these people who miraculously survived their own suicide attempt? How can we recognize when someone we know is thinking this way, hearing these kinds of voices? One way is to identify specific self-destructive behaviors that the person is engaging in that we now know are being dictated by the voice.
My real purpose in wanting to make this film about suicide for the public is to educate all people about what to look for in their friends, their family members, their loved ones, their co-workers, their fellow students, that could alert them to the fact that this person's in trouble, that they need help. And then to give them the tools so that they could reach out to that person. They would know what to do. They'd feel comfortable to make contact with that person, to connect with them, to show them that they care. They often have disruptions in their sleep patterns. They're either not being able to go to bed or they're waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to go back to sleep. Often people who actually commit suicide have not slept for weeks at a time.
So finally my dad's just exhausted. I said, Dad, look, let's talk tomorrow morning, okay? I'm really, really super tired. I have to go to sleep. I had no intention of going to sleep. I hadn't slept in 2 weeks. He didn't know that. I stayed in my room, wrote, drew.
You hadn't been sleeping at all?
Not at all. 2 weeks.
One important sign is isolation. For example, someone who is pushing away their friends and wanting to be alone.
I tried to get alone because this process occurred when I was alone. I couldn't do it. I couldn't carry it off if there were other people around. The voice was weak when I was around other people. So the voice got me to be alone. Get alone. You don't, look, why don't you need some time for yourself? Get alone. Get alone just so you can think. And then once I would get alone, either driving around somewhere or just walking around by myself, then these other voices, the more destructive ones, would start.
I remember that Christmas drinking a case of beer, sitting by myself, crying and thinking, you know, Merry effing Christmas. I know the drinking made me feel more isolated. I remember a lot of thoughts about, you know, your own family doesn't love you, nobody's ever going to love you.
Another warning sign is where someone seems to lose interest in things that once mattered to them.
I also had quit going to a couple of classes because I was so depressed. And there was one class that I wasn't doing well in. It was an economics class, and I'd never not done well in a class. And so I felt like even my intellect or my ability to succeed in school was failing me, and I couldn't bear to, I mean, I'd always gotten straight A's. That would have meant I wasn't going to get an A.
When people become involved in a downward spiral of self-destruction, their thoughts become intensely self-hating and vicious, and cause them much psychological pain and agitation. A friend or family member who is expressing such thoughts out loud may be approaching a suicidal crisis, and it is appropriate to be concerned.
Like, it takes a form of, like, you're so ugly. You're so ugly. Of course you can't stand to look at yourself. Who would choose you? I didn't. I didn't.
I would yell at myself. It was as if the mirror was a person and I was a person. I'm going to kill you. You're going to die. I hate you. Go to hell. You're a bastard child. Things like that. I mean, really get mad.
A further sign is where a person feels that they don't fit in anywhere, that they don't belong, and that they are different from other people in a negative way.
Why couldn't my own family love me? And, you know, I see families stand by murderers and rapists and drug addicts, and, you know, I'm a straight A student and, you know, really responsible, and nothing was ever enough.
As people progressively give up the activities and friendships that once mattered to them, they lose the ability to find any pleasure in life.
You don't matter. You don't matter to anybody. Nobody would miss you. Nobody. You don't even matter yourself. How do you think you matter to somebody else? You don't matter. You don't matter.
When they're feeling like giving up on themselves, they're disconnecting from themselves. Nothing matters to them anymore. Things that they used to enjoy, that they love to do, they don't care about anymore. That disconnection from self allows the person to feel very negatively toward their body and do things to actually hurt their body.
Another serious sign is where a person feels they are a burden to others. Kevin was diagnosed by a psychiatrist as having bipolar disorder, which is associated with suicide risk in both the depressive and manic states. Here he describes an unusual form of rapid cycling he experienced.
Every Thursday or Friday, I would succumb into a deep depression. Every Thursday or Friday. It was clockwork. That's rapid cycling, I guess. So I'd go from Monday, being way up here, way manic, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I missed Wednesday, or whatever. So, bam, down on Friday, and I'm gone. And I'm so depressed. I'm crying my eyes out. I'm having heart palpitations. Just all this physical pain and all this mental pain. Then I became depressed and more manic and more paranoid. Then I'd go up and down, and this exhausted my family. Not just my parents, not just my sister and brother, but my aunt, my uncles, my friends. They didn't want to go out with me anymore. They didn't want to hang out with me.
In this very painful time in my life, I remember calling home and my stepmother answered the phone. My father wasn't available. And so I began telling her how much pain I was in and that I was thinking of ending it. I think I was fairly vague about it. But she said, no matter what, don't you tell your father about this because it would break his heart. And why are you calling me?
Very close to the time of the attempt, the suicidal person might actually appear to feel better, happier, and less agitated.
Sometimes just before the suicide attempt, where they've made this decision to kill themselves, they look much calmer, much happier, much more relaxed, because they're no longer in this turmoil about, and all this pain. They've come up with what they think is the perfect solution. Now, I don't think it's the perfect solution, but in their mind at that moment, suicide seems like the perfect solution.
Put the notebook in my bag where the letter was. Got in the car, elated, very happy. I'm going to end the pain. I'm going to end the pain.
Do you think you were disconnected from yourself at that point?
Absolutely. I was ready to go. I was just gone. It was over. I knew what was going to happen. I'm going to go to the bridge. I'm going to jump. It's just that simple. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's done.
And when
Today
you
I'm
came to
going
that
to die.
decision, you felt elated.
Elated. I was just like happy, ruined, running. And it's going to, and this is common.
Suicidal people may even talk about wanting to kill themselves or allude to it. However, when someone shows concern, they may quickly deny that they are in distress. They are clearly ambivalent about wanting to be stopped.
September 24th, I'm in my room, just had a little argument with my father. I don't know if this is the day before or the day before that, but I said, I don't want to be here anymore. I said, Kevin, you have an obligation to your family, to your friends, to the people that love you and raised you to be here. Do you want me to take you to the hospital? No. Are you sure? No. Kevin, I think we should go. No, Dad, look. No, I didn't mean it like that, all right? I just bullshitted him. I said, Dad, I'll be fine. Look, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, okay? I need you to just go to sleep, okay?
So it culminated in me obtaining a gun, had it in the back seat with sort of clothes half covering it. And I remember one of my friends seeing it, and sort of accidentally on purpose. And she's like, Trish, what the hell is this? And I told her the same little shenanigan that I had told the guy who sold me the gun. And she said, you know what, let me hold on to this just for a while, this doesn't sound right. And I said, really, I'm fine, don't worry about it.
I went out to the Golden Gate Bridge. On the bus, I began to cry softly in the back. The bus was packed. On the bus, I began to think, if one person comes up to me and says, are you okay? I'll turn around. If one person comes up to me and tells me, asks me if anything's wrong, I'll tell them everything.